Here at WSTA. We wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. Stand by for Adler Fonzie done it started. Yeah, he's connecting the dots. I guess at the top of the hour or at the news or after the news for sure.
Did somebody call me?
Fonzie.
Good morning, Adi.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine. I look forward to it's been a productive morning starting out with you and, of course, continuing with Connect the Dots.
That's it. Go ahead. Connect them. And hopefully, the weather will be improved here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's overcast and it's cold.
Well, I didn't wear a sweater. I didn't wear a sweater for you today. But you know something, Adi, just switching the subject real quickly. The Los Angeles Lakers beat the Clippers last night without LeBron. You know what that means? That means another title for LA because I think it's only the Clippers could beat them. Okay, I'm done with that.
There we go. Listen, let me stay here in the Midwest. You guys stay in the Caribbean. Argue down there, okay? Have a great day.
Okay, thank you.
Tomorrow morning at 7.
Okay.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is Adler Fonzie down the store, your host of a new program that is coming, Connecting the Dots, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Monday morning on WSDA, the station of choice, 1340 on the dial. Again, Adler Fonzie down the store, Connecting the Dots, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Monday morning on none other than WSDA, Lucky 13. If you from the sea, when you're there, put your hands up high.
Please log into your mobile phone, television, computer for live streaming or your nearest radio. It's now time to listen to Connecting the Dots.
People come, let me go. Turn up the radio. This is the people show. No matter where we go.
Good morning, U.S. Virgin Islands. Good morning to every one of you. I'm talking about St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Water Island. They're all one U.S. Virgin Islands, one territory. And, I just wanted to say a pleasant good morning to you guys this morning. And just with some slight and brief updates. I had the opportunity to eat at Margaritaville. And the food was really delicious. But I also did this little short video to just wish people a happy Sunday and share it with my friends there on Facebook and stuff. But it was the ambience. And then I moved over to Cookie Point, where one of my main sponsors, Catch of the Day, just to look at a lobster. I could swear a lobster was speaking to me. I looked at a whole couple of lobsters inside of that trunk because they're fresh. There at Catch of the Day on Cookie Point. And I could swear the lobster was actually calling me. But that delicious lobster in butter sauce is second to none. None other than, and you can't find it nowhere else but at Catch of the Day down on Cookie Point Beach. We have the number of COVID active cases in the U.S. Virgin Islands have gone up. And of course, when you actually attend different functions, or you go out there, and I wouldn't say functions, but you just go out where they're congregating, individuals are congregating, and you see some people that are not practicing those safety measures. You just wonder if some of us are still in denial that this thing truly exists. And I can only caution people that the number of active cases in the Virgin Islands have gone up to over 170. So let's not take things for granted. Let's continue to practice those those safety measures, and hope that even the respective government departments put in place the proper protocols and be prepared for the distribution of the vaccine. And now talking about vaccine, There's so many different publications out there. I just received from a friend about 16 doctors that came out publicly saying that be careful of the vaccine and instilling fear in people. And we got to be careful with that now, folks, because you're going to have all kind of different publications and mixed signals coming from different quarters. And the one thing we don't want is for people to get to the point where we leave our guard down. We entertain a lot of these conspiracy theories and these different messaging, and we decide that we're not taking any vaccine because it could come back to haunt you as an individual, that you would not have even ventured to take the vaccine. And now bear in mind, I'm not saying that you should go take the vaccine or you shouldn't. I'm just saying that it should be a consideration. Do your own research and rely on the professionals to actually provide you with the valuable information that they have to circulate. And don't just go on the whim. Don't just navigate the direction of you're not going to even consider the vaccine. You know, I saw on Facebook where I think it's 3 presidents, former presidents that is, 3 former presidents came up publicly and indicated that they were going to take the vaccine, serving by example, which is former President Obama, former President George Bush Jr., and former President Bill Clinton, that decided that they were going to come out. And you know, that's honorable. And I heard a rumor, I don't know how true it is, that the governor was going to subject himself to the vaccine as well, so the people of the Virgin Islands can feel comfortable in knowing that their elected officials, if they're willing to do it, they understand that it's safe and that it's okay to take it, and to encourage the public into, you know, taking this vaccine for the protection of the residents of the Virgin Islands. And just moving on, you heard me talk about the Lakers and all that stuff, but I want to move on to an issue that I think should be of great importance to every single Virgin Islanders, and that is the issue of the economy. And what I did was I invited an individual this morning who's going to be my special guest on the program this morning, because I was searching high and low for someone that may have a historical background as well when it comes to the development of the U.S. Virgin Islands, the role that the hotel industry plays, how they contribute to the coffers, how they actually contribute to the GDP, contribute to basically the economy of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and somehow marry it into the different components that you would have when it comes to the economy and building an economy. And I'm talking about a healthy economy, because every destination is going to be exploring different ways for us to build our economy. And it's some sad news that I received about a week ago, and I'm going to invite a special guest on the program later on, and I'll tell you about that. That has to do with horse racing in the Virgin Islands, which is part of our tradition and culture. That it's unfortunate that the company VIGL is pulling out after investing over some $14 million because of stonewalling and roadblocks that they have encountered. But I want to hear it from the horse's mouth itself. And you know, I'm going to advertise in the coming week when that's going to be. I suspect it's going to be in January after Christmas season, where we have people's undivided attention and we could roll along to all these major issues. So coming back to our program this morning, I wanted just to mention to you that the person that I tapped to be on the program this morning is none other than the former president and managing director of the Marriott Frenchman's Reef. And you guys know the Marriott Frenchman's Reef. I mean, we'll have a debate about whether you call it Frenchman's Reef or Marriott Frenchman's Reef. It became branded Marriott Frenchman's Reef. And the guest that we're going to have here this morning is none other than Nick Purcell himself. You know, I'm so elated that I consider this gentleman to be an icon. And when I say icon, I mean that his contributions over the years with the Marriott Frenchman's Reef and how he was able to spearhead the rehabilitations at that hotel up to what it became and what it is today. and how it's well branded throughout the United States. He needs to be commended for that. And, you know, going down the line of the respective positions that he have held in government, because I want to bring this full rounded so you can understand why I selected this individual to be my guest on the program this morning, just to talk about the hotel industry and the economy. And, you know, going down, I mean, I'm so amazed by the different, from awards to all the positions that he have held here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And he's still here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a resident of the U.S. Virgin Islands, probably over 40-something years. But this gentleman, I mean, when you go down the list of achievements, the list of recognition, you got the Pinnacle Award, Successful Meeting Magazine Paragon Award. You got Corporate Meetings and Incentives Magazine's Award of Excellence. You've got the Corporate and Incentive Travel Magazine Mustang Award. You've got the Marriott 1995 Corporate Citizens Award, Prime Hospitality 1997 Businessman of the Year, St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce 1997 Man of the Year, Rotary Club of the Virgin Islands 1998, the VI Taxi Commission member for 3 years. He was also the VI Port Authority Commission committee member, or board member I would say, for 3 years. And his memberships here in the Virgin Islands, which I think I want to take note of that as well, so every one of you know who we're having here as a guest. He was a former president of the St. Thomas Hotel Association, former governor's Economics Advisory Board, former VI Tourism Policy Council, former U.S. Congressional Tourism Caucus, former board member, Caribbean Hotel Association, former president of the St. Thomas Scal Club, former VP and VI Fishing Club, former board member of VI Taxi Commission, former chairman of the Governor's Hospitality Advisory or Hospital Advisory. But that's a lot. That's a lot to assume. But what it tells you is that he's been able to work in so many different veins to get a true understanding of the Virgin Islands. And there's some pertinent questions that I have for him, and everything I'm doing this morning impromptu. And after, you know, what I want to do in bringing him on is afford him the opportunity to, in fact, actually introduce or share with you just some perspectives in a nutshell, because I think I've covered so much. I don't know how much he's going to have to say in an introduction, but ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to bring on, to invite and thank Mr. Purcell, Nick Purcell, for taking the opportunity to be with us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Purcell.
Good morning, Senator. And good morning to the Virgin Islands, and greetings to everyone.
Okay, can you speak up a little louder, Mr. Purcell, so everyone can hear you?
Okay.
Okay, there you go, I can hear you now. I know you didn't want to put that microphone so close to your mouth, but I apologize. But you go on, you have 5 minutes or 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes just to introduce yourself to the public, to all those on the different platforms. We have Facebook Live, we have Vimeo, we have YouTube, LinkedIn, just to share a few with you, as well as Facebook Live. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. And as I mentioned before, greetings to everyone, especially French Ministry family, and Merry Christmas. Today is a very special day, Senator. Today is the first day of vaccination around the country, hopefully Virgin Islands, so this should be remembered. I am here to put a little bit perspective, in other words, connect the dots, as you say, about our tourism and tourism product and what has taken historically since I've been here 45 years ago. In the 70s, early 70s, when I arrived here, we had about 560,000 overnight guests, and we had 250,000 cruise ship guests every year. By the 80s, that went up to 800 to 900,000 cruise ships. However, our overnight stay came down to 500,000 a year. By the late 90s, we actually had 2.1 million cruise ship passengers. However, we only had 500,000 overnight guests. In other words, from 1970 to late 1998, we actually lost our most profitable, economically profitable segment of our tourism, which is overnight stays. Overnight stay guests actually is the backbone of the tourism economy, not the cruise ships. Cruise ships certainly help, but according to government surveys, last I saw, each overnight stay in a hotel's guest spends on average 4 to 5 times as much as a cruise ship passenger. Fast forward to the 2010, 2017, just before the hurricane. Our tourism started shifting, and I'm not sure we were aware of it at the time as much as we should have, but overnight stays started shifting drastically to vacation homes, VRBOs of the world, and Airbnbs. And that's what has become the big segment now. And I'm talking about going back to 2017. I'm not even talking about any numbers to do with coronavirus. Our hotel rooms have actually gone down. Not many Virgin Islanders realize it. We had close to 4,000 rooms in the Virgin Islands, including St. Croix and Water Island. Now we only have 2,500 rooms in St. Thomas and St. John, and 800 rooms in St. Croix. That's it. We actually have gone backward. And I'm not sure there has been any serious analysis as what caused this downturn in hotel rooms. And what we should do to correct that, because there is reason for it. Because if hotels were making money, there will be plenty of investors coming to invest and build hotels here.
Yeah.
We've actually gone backward.
Well,
So that's where we stand now.
Well, thank you for sharing that information with us. There's a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you, because you've been with the Marriott Frenchman Reef for how many years?
I was there about 30 years.
And you were actually the president and managing director for the majority of that period?
Entire period, right.
Okay. So you actually were there and was active or partly responsible and headed up all the rehabilitation of the Marriott after each hurricane?
Completely, yes.
Now, let me step back a second. The Marriott is branded as Frenchman's Reef, as far as you know, or is it branded as Marriott Frenchman's Reef? Because for a lot of people, there's a difference.
I'm sorry. Up to the hurricane, 2017, the ownership was pushing through Marriott management. They were pushing Marriott name, and Frenchman's Reef name was in the background. As I understand it now, when they come back with a newly beautiful hotel, they're actually, Marriott's side of it is going to be a little bit less, and they're going to be promoting it more as a Frenchman's Reef beach resort. If you go to Marriott Hotel, right at the entrance, that huge sign, it says Frenchman's Reef Beach Resort.
Okay, let's talk about the number of rooms that we had back in, as an example, back in 2010. what was the total inventory of rooms that we had in the Virgin Islands, inclusive of the Marriott Frenchman's Reef and the Morningstar Beach that they had to offer?
We in 2010, thereabout, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,800, including St. Croix.
3,800.
Right.
Okay. Now, in terms of the number of rooms, because I think I want to break down how does the rooms or the existence or the increase of rooms could benefit the Virgin Islands economy. Now, I know the hotel occupancy tax came about at a later time. I want to cover that, you to explain that to the listening audience and viewing audience. And basically, how does the hotel industry in itself contribute to the Virgin Islands? Because you have a situation here where the majority of the hotels, and I know historically the EDC program, a lot of the hotels apply for the EDC programs. I want you to qualify that as well, because I know it's tied to employment, it's tied to construction, it's tied to a lot of things. But I want you to respond to the first part and then move on to the second part in terms of the hotel contribution to the U.S. Virgin Islands.
But Senator, you ask a lot of questions in one question. I want
Yes.
to know that.
Well, we have a lot to cover.
I want to clarify something. From around 2010 or 8 till the hurricane, because after hurricane and after the virus, really they don't count the numbers because these are unusual times. However, after 2017, the configuration of hotels have substantially changed. We are right now have 2,550 hotel rooms in St. Thomas, St. John. 950 of those rooms are timeshare. We didn't have that in the 80s and 90s. So we have close to 40% of the rooms are timeshare.
Yeah.
Different economy, told completely from hotel rooms. Okay, that was the one question you had.
Yeah.
And your other question was about how the hotels contribute to the economy. Well, number one, we hired between 450 and 600 employees, depending in various times, various economy of the world, not necessarily season, because Frenchman's Reef became not kind of year-round destination. We were employing close to 600 employees, but that was direct employment. We had, I always said, we had 1,100 employees when you added everybody, the entertainers, the rec taxi drivers that service that, and purveyors, and all the people that service the hotel. You probably had close to 1,100, and you multiply that by 3 to 4 people per employee in their household. We were supporting close to 4,000 or 5,000 people in St. Thomas, St. John household with employment. That's as far as employment is concerned.
So
then we're talking about restaurants, we're talking about grocery stores, we're talking about supply companies that supply the papers and dishes and glasses, etc., etc. So there's tremendous amount.
Would you say that Airbnb is serving a valuable purpose right now?
Right now, definitely, that's the only thing we got going. Because as I mentioned, we have 2,500 rooms altogether, 2,550. 950 of those are timeshare, and out of the remaining 1,500 or so, only 650 hotel rooms are open. The rest are closed.
Well, you know, the reason I mentioned Airbnb, because when you see that there's a high influx of people coming from Puerto Rico and other, destinations from throughout the United States, because a lot of the Caribbean islands, Eastern Caribbean islands, have closed their door completely. And we are one of the only destinations that are allowing for people to visit right now. However, when you look at the total number of hotels that are fully online, you wonder where these guests are being able to stay. So I was quickly compelled to believe that Airbnb is filling that void currently, which means that you spread it out, and the mom and pop who may have lost a job but have a apartment building or have a big house with extra rooms, that they could try to participate on Airbnb, which would be an income for them, as well as providing accommodations to someone who's coming into the territory. And do you feel the same?
I feel the same for the time being. It is probably the best thing ever happened to us, and thanks to the governor that has been a little open-minded about trying to keep us the economy open as much as possible. It's without Airbnb, we would have been really in a real pickle.
Yeah.
We have, but we have to now start thinking about the future. How do we deal with our tourism?
Well,
we
yeah.
need a much more accuracy in our numbers. I'm not sure we have a good accurate accounting of how many Airbnbs and vacation homes we have in the Virgin Islands, and how much they contribute to the government, which government has to function.
But there's something
to get something out of it.
There's something that we are actually overlooking, and that's something that I believe that we're overlooking, is that if the U.S. Virgin Islands received over be entitled over $5 billion in assistance for the U.S. Virgin Islands, I think it's 2-point-something billion that is supposed to be earmarked for the U.S. Virgin Islands. And let me make that correction. I don't know the exact figure, but here is the thing that we're overlooking. I've said this, and you tell me if you disagree. If we have that level of funding for the U.S. Virgin Islands growth, and we're talking about homes being rebuilt, you got the Envision Tomorrow program, you have monies earmarked for schools, you have monies earmarked for the expansion of the airport, rehabilitation of the airports, you have monies available for the reconstruction and constructions of new schools. Why is that activity not at the highest level? Because remember, we may not have the workforce here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, but you're talking about people, if we have to make up the number of employees that we need to fulfill what is necessary for all these different developments, these different programs, then certainly we would have folks coming to the U.S. Virgin Islands earning some sizable income and actually still paying into the economy by patronizing stores. And of course they would require accommodations, so they could always go to the respective hotels for accommodations, whoever the contractor is that's bringing them in. That's money being infused into different facets of the community, into different veins of the economy. And that's where I think we're significantly lacking. And I'm hopeful that they get all these projects off the ground. Because if you get the projects off the ground, you will put a significant amount of money in circulating. And if I may just add just an idea, they need to take a bus, decorate a bus, job employment, drive them around into those communities for all those young men to jump aboard, get these programs off the ground, because it would be a significant contribution to the economy as well.
Good Senator, you asked me about something very important. That was the tax exemptions,
Yeah.
and how it affects the. First of all, I want to qualify this. I have no connection or financial attachment to any hotel whatsoever,
Thank you.
including Frenchman's Reef. There is a misconception about hotels and tax exemptions. I want to ask Virgin Islanders to think of one thing. If hotel business was so profitable, despite all those tax exemptions, why are we losing hotels? Why is it that we had 5,000 rooms in mid-70s, and we have less than 4,000, really close to
I think it's
3,000
3,000
now.
something, yeah.
So, common sense tells you that something is wrong. These people can't be making money. If they were, believe me, there'd be hundreds of investors pouring money to build hotels in the Virgin Islands.
But wasn't the Marriott one of the how should I say, the most profitable properties in the U.S. Virgin Islands at one point?
No. It was
Why? Because
really,
the operating
really,
costs?
I can honestly tell you, as I feel I was an excellent manager, and I think my company would have vouched for that. We were very lucky to make the mortgage payments. Majority of hotels, including your Yacht Haven, just got billed and it went literally almost went belly out. Mortgage payment and payroll is your two biggest expenses. And hotels and resorts in general are lucky to make enough money to pay their mortgages and put aside a reserve for a slow periods of the season, seasonality in the year. So to say that made a lot of money and somebody came with a barrel and took the cash home, absolutely not.
Yeah. Let me ask you and switch
Good
over.
Senator, let me tell you, and I would mention this much, there is not a hotel in the Virgin Islands that hasn't gone at least once bankrupt.
Wow. Wow. Well, I've always said that the Virgin Islands marketing and packaging strategy could only, but if it's effective, and it needs to be effective, I think they need to.
We have to bring the costs down.
Yeah.
The problem here is doing business is expensive compared to other islands. Our cost of doing business is very expensive. And whenever we pass laws and whenever we talk in a governmental agencies, we forget to ever ask, how does that affect tourism?
Yeah.
That's the questions that seldom is asked. And I think if we want the economy to benefit from tourism, whenever we do anything within our structure of taxation, regulations, different departments, permits, we have to ask, how does that affect us? There must be a reason that I've had literally in 30 years, hundreds of investors have come and picked my brain about tourism, etc., and have talked and researched and went back and never heard from again. There must be a reason.
Well, let me switch over. Now that you're talking about costs, I want to switch a little bit over to labor practices, which I know could be a controversial issue, but it's relative. It's relative, and I think it's a very important issue for a lot of people, especially those who have felt that with some of the hotels, the policies and procedures and the labor practices within some of the hotels have been unfair to employees. How do you feel about that?
It's true, but it's true in every destination all over the world. Some hotels take care of their employees, some hotels don't. But that doesn't make it systemic here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if anything, if I had to guess, our hotels that I'm aware of, they were excellent to their employees. They really were. Because before I came to Virgin Islands, I had 11 hotels in the Baltimore, Washington area that I supervised. I can tell you, we treated them here 3 times better than we did in Baltimore, Washington.
Yeah. Well, I know that there's a lot of other destinations, especially like a place like Mexico, where employees was treated horribly. And here in the U.S. Virgin Islands is definitely the total opposite. And you have, and I don't know if I have shared this, but I'll share it with you publicly. I used to manage Point Pleasant in the evening for at least about a year and a half, where I was actually the PM general manager on the property. And it's not I bring that up to say it's not an easy job. because you're dealing with so many different personalities in terms of the tourists that frequent and the tourists that come to the hotel. And I know that must have been a major challenge for you as well.
Definitely. Hotel business is a 24/7 business, and but you have to love it. If you don't love it, it really is not a job for you. You have to love people. You have to love to socialize with people, get to know new people, and that's once you love it, you can't do anything else. Just like what happened to me. I'm an engineer, but I was working my way through college in this business, and I was so much in love with it. After finishing college, I ended up staying with it because I couldn't deal with the boredom of being an engineer. I wanted to be with people.
And how many years have you been with you actually served in that industry?
About 40 years.
That's a long time. And Marriott was what, about 32?
No, I was with Marriott around 29, something 29, 30 years.
Okay, well, I was close. I mean, that's 2 years off. And I'm just guessing. And you know, I know that your history with having relationships with government, governors, had lent a lot of support, or you were able to get the ears of government all during those years, because I remember some statements that you made that was quite profound, and in fact I've heard governors who did not shy away from knowing you on a personal level speak of you publicly about the different initiatives, the different things that you have changed in the hotel industry, and that's why I referred you as an icon in that industry, and the many contributions that you have made to hospitality. So I wanted to really commend you on that as well, because to be that many years in that respective position is not easy at all.
Good Senator was easy for me because
Wow.
I fell in love with Virgin Island, and I really believe, truly believe, I stayed because of the people.
Well, I didn't hear much complaints coming from in terms of employee management relationships, so that's a good thing. And I can think of others that had equivalent positions but on other properties like Bluebeard's Castle. What was his name? David Rice, who seemed to have a decent relationship with his staff as well. And I've always said that if you expect your organization to be productive, to be effective and be efficient, there has to be good morale. Because if you don't have that good morale, then you could possibly run into problems, because you'll have a disgruntled employee is not a productive employee. Do you believe in that?
Of course, absolutely. Without employees, we managers are nobody, frankly.
Well, one of the common things we do here on the station, one of our practices is to open up the line and start entertaining calls from residents who may want to ask you a particular question or may want to jostle your memory in some respect having to do with the development of the United States Virgin Islands and even Marriott itself and the activities that they had over here. Because I can tell you, I remember as a local going over to the Marriott, and it's either they had a band that was visiting from the States, or they had a local band that was in the hotel, and you would see crowds of people in that hotel, the Marriott Hotel, just enjoying themselves and having a great time. And Frenchman's Reef was actually carrying some of the local products like a Cruzan rum and a lot of local drinks. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, that you were even selling Island Dairy and St. Thomas Dairy ice creams, or had the ice creams and stuff in the hotel. Do you, and I'm asking from your perspective, do you feel that was during that period, was it your intention of establishing a good relationship with the community as well?
Absolutely. Without the community, we could not function, frankly. And that's why I established good relationship from governors down. In fact, you mentioned about governors. I've been a special economic advisor to many governors except the last three. from Governor King down, I was
Wow.
a special advisor to them, and I really enjoyed that relationship.
Well, that's always a good thing, because you see, I believe that you should engage the stakeholders and get them involved in the decision-making process, because at times you cannot profess to know everything, and every bit of advice coming from different quarters can make the world of a difference. And I believe that during that period, I mean, some of the things and the practices in the hotel, and I'm singling out the Marriott in this instance because I have you on the radio, but when you go to, like, remember VI Hotel, I remember VI Hotel and have some great memories of the VI Hotel. The VI Hotel where I think it was Studio 54 was located, and those were some days, and it's unfortunate that we don't have a new generation that is enjoying all of this that we enjoyed years ago. I remember going to Studio 54 and we could be party until 4 o'clock in the morning. And if I may add to the record, I don't know if you wanted me to add this to the record, but Nick Purcell was actually one of the owners of Club Z. Is that correct?
I don't want to admit it.
Well, it's not a bad thing, because there was never a better party spot than Club Z. And you know, one of the things that I remember in terms of the ambience, the decorations, the pictures, the carpet, the tables, the design of the bar, the TV screens up above that you could look up and see yourself dancing on the floor, and I could go on and on. You know, who was responsible for all that decoration?
Yeah.
Did you hear me, Mr. Purcell?
No,
I was
I didn't hear
asking
that part.
who was responsible for all that decoration?
Well, decorations were done by a gentleman named Flavio. This is when he owned it, and we basically took it over, and within 3 months after we purchased it, we had a Hurricane Hugo. So then after '93, that club was actually decorated by a very famous interior designers for restaurants and nightclubs from New York. So,
Okay, because I felt that it was state-of-the-art, and you know, when you talk about Club Z, there was a Club Z in New York as well that was eventually closed down for whatever reason. But I often heard individuals saying that the Club Z in the U.S. Virgin Islands was actually better than the Club Z in New York. So I think that that speaks volumes about your management style and your ability to really, your vision in terms of outfitting a place to really, you know, and it's sad when I bring up this history, because I'm saddened because today our young people are not enjoying, you know, some of that stuff that we enjoyed years ago. Of course, the landscape is totally different, the mindset is totally different, and we're hoping that eventually, when we open up and we get back to some level of normalcy, that we encourage the development and the opening of new businesses as well, and that we can keep help some of these businesses to stay afloat, because if they're enduring high costs to do business in the Virgin Islands, that may be a deterrence for business, you know, entrepreneurs to even want to venture any new businesses, much less even keep a business open that is running in the red. So we're going to go to the lines now, Mr. Purcell, and open up the lines for the callers to ask questions. Good morning, you on the air, connect the dots.
Good morning, Senator Jonathan. Good morning, Purcell.
Good morning to you as well.
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Purcell, and this is in reference to employees that were employed before the 2 hurricanes in 2017. Will those employees that were employed during that time, will they have the opportunity to reapply, and be reinstated in some type of way? Because I know there were employers, or employees rather, that had put in service 30 years, 20 years, and you know, that's really hard. And that's really hard on our people here, you know, when they give that kind of time. And then when something happens, that's devastating, of course, to the company, but they are left on the outside after placing that type of time. And they would like to be reinstated and continue and be able to retire, you know, after 20 years. And we're talking about a lot of young people as well.
Thank you for the question. Let me clarify something.
I'll take my answer off.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you for the question. Let me clarify something. I left Frenchman's Reef after we sold it in 2020, year 2000, and I never closed the hotel after any hurricane, including Hugo. During those hurricanes in Maryland and Hugo, we kept the hotel going, and we did quite well by keeping.
Can you turn your radio down, please? Not you. Go ahead, Mr. Purcell.
So we never really, for most part, laid off employees and anything like that. Now, what has happened after we sold it, I am not aware of it. As I mentioned earlier, I have no affiliation with Marriott Frenchman's Reef now. However, I'd like to make this comment. We are in a very small, closed society. We don't have the privilege and luxury of hiring 600 employees, brand new, all trained, ready to go. So Marriott Frenchman's Reef has no choice but to take back a lot of majority of those employees, because that's our best.
Yeah.
And to the best of my knowledge, the trained Marriott Frenchman's Reef employees are very much in demand in the Virgin Islands.
Okay. I'm sure that answered your question.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Donaldson and Mr. Purcell. I'm calling, I'm trying to see if I understand or believe what Mr. was mentioned. Did I hear Mr. Purcell say that Frenchman's Reef or Marriott Frenchman's Reef was never involved in an exemption program? Is that what he was saying?
I don't think he said that, but let him answer that.
So I'm asking you, don't you recall the time when Frenchman's Reef, Frenchman's Day, and all those things was an IDC program similar to Blue Base Cats that had a tax exemption program from 1949? Or is he trying to separate it now because of Mr. Marriott? But was there a time when Frenchman's Reef, when he was there, and they were bringing in employees from other countries to work there when they were in fact Virgin Islanders looking for employment? I've been in there, I've seen them in there. So what is he really telling us? So you have time sharing, and you have in a hotel, and you have bread and breakfast. What is the big different way to have time sharing or other the same exemption program as a hotel? The occupancy for time sharing is in the facility, so is it the same property? What is they trying to separate from those differences?
Did you hear his question, Mr. Purcell?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I think there is, maybe I was misunderstood. Number one,
He said what?
I left the hotel in year 2000.
I'm not saying the hotel.
I left the hotel, and we never
I know
brought.
I'm not the hotel, but the corporation or the facility itself, Frenchman's Reef Resort, under Marriott or whatever it was, isn't it one of those listed for the IDC program for the exemption and grocery, income tax, custom duties, and all those categories? Weren't you or the company? You are not the hotel. You are here at the 740 something years from Iran or someplace. But I'm saying the hotel, the facility, wasn't it? Or is it still an EDC program under whoever owns the property?
I try to explain to you. I first answered your question about bringing foreigners. I never personally ever did that while I was at the hotel. I understand after I left, that wouldn't allow me to answer your questions.
We're not going to get a straightforward answer. It is a yes, you know, you don't know. I'm not saying you got an exemption.
Exemption, Frenchman's Reef had an exemption from...
But Senator Bryan, you have to let him respond to your question. You have to let him exhaust and respond to your question. And then you could ask him the next question, because I think what's happening is he's attempting to respond to you and he's not able to fully respond to you. So,
because you tell me, I'm not saying that he owns the hotel itself, the facility.
You had two questions, one about foreign workers, which I answered. Now let me explain to you. Frenchman's Reef, from day one, they got a tax exemption, and it was tax exempt till this hurricane hit, or maybe still has. So always been under tax exemption. The operation like the size of Frenchman's Reef can never operate and stay in business if they didn't have the tax exemption. And
I am trying to get this man to understand I am not talking about he as an individual. The company or the hotel owners or whoever owns that Frenchman hotel or the resort or whatever you want to call it is in fact, if you go to the EDC program, you'll see their name there. And I'm sure he remember when they were laying off employees from the Virgin Islands and bringing in employees from all over the world. He knows that, and Mr. Donald, I'm sure you remember. As he's the one is saying now, so we won't know. But I'm saying I know that because I was in the legislature when that was going on, how Blue Base Castle and all the other resort hotels that was in the exemption was the name of the game. But Thanksgiving is a property inside the facility. So if they have an exemption right now, that's the separation they're trying to portray. But there is a yes. And you should have somebody there that can sell these and But anyway, let them go. Thank you.
okay, Mr. Purcell, you want to go ahead and respond to him?
well, I don't know where the misunderstanding is. Like, the answer was yes. Frenchman's Reef always been under tax exemption, EDC program. So I don't know where the beef is.
Well, I think, and you remember when I brought up the issue of labor practices.
Labor practices, I said, I never did it, but I understand, as far as I know, I've heard the same things and I've seen it. There has been foreigners brought from other parts of the country or the world. And I don't know how they do it, but they get immigration to accept and give them the permission.
Well, here's the question that I have to ask you. Do you believe that our hospitality training programs have been effective? Have we been producing any high level of certifications for candidates or persons to be able to transition into the hotel industry? What would you recommend?
Well, we really have no training program whatsoever. I think when I was a president of Hotel Association and subsequent years, we have pushed for the University of Virgin Islands to start hospitality courses, and they did start 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they've been slowly and gradually, they are starting to graduate few people, but 5 or 10 people a year is not the answer. You know, you still bound to bring from, sometimes to bring experts from the state, which terrible. We should be able to operate these hotels self-sufficiently if we had training program and we could train. You know, other islands have figured out this. I don't know how. I'm just giving you an example in Antigua. Antigua, they are known for their servicing their yachts. The yachts come from all over the world to Antigua to get serviced, to get varnished, to get repaired, because they have trained locals, and they don't have I never saw anybody from out of Antigua working on those big yachts.
Well, I think
We
there's,
need to do the same here
Yeah.
with the hotels and marine industry.
well, you know how I feel about the marine industry. I worked with Bingley Richardson, God rest his soul, where we drafted the Maritime Academy legislation and got it through the Senate. And within that Maritime Academy, of course, is to develop an institute for the purpose of really training a lot of the locals. And you know, while we're talking about opportunities for locals, I think there is a great opportunity now for the University of the Virgin Islands. Start a hospitality program online for the purpose of training a lot of people or affording people some certification locally, that when these hotels open, we can establish an argument in saying that we have a cadre of trained individuals, certified individuals in the U.S. Virgin Islands that can assume those positions. So if Dr. Hall is listening to me, I think, Dr. Hall, I'm suggesting that you create an online program for the purpose of being able to accommodate, and especially now during this pandemic, I'm sure that a lot of people will have the time to at least even go in there and get that certification from the University of the Virgin Islands as it relates to hotel or hospitality here in the U.S. Virgin Islands and being trained in that respective area. So, Mr. Parcell, I wanted to thank you. We're almost close to the bottom of well, not the bottom of the hour, the end of my hour, which is from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I appreciate you taking the time out to come here on the radio to share your perspective with us, with the hotel industry, because, see, there is a lot of stuff and a perception surrounding hotels. And it's rightfully so in one respect, and I say unfortunate in another respect. And I say unfortunate in the other respect in terms of what does that development contribute to the Virgin Islands, that employment. And of course, there's going to be the pros and the cons in every respect. But when we truly look at the level of opportunities that could be extended, I understand what the senator was getting to in terms of the recruitment of personnel coming from the outside. And I think that's what I'm attempting to even impose, if I may say, for the lack of a better word, impose on the University of the Virgin Islands that they should consider doing this, developing this program, because I'm sure that they have the basic framework already in place. Just put it online and extend it to the residents of the Virgin Islands to be able to participate. Get that, provide that a special exemption for them if they may be able to get some credits towards getting a certification in that area, but provide the academia to be able to that curriculum, to be able to train them and certify them so that they could walk into the hotels here and give the hotels their certification and say, I received training, formal training for the purpose of working in this area, and I'm prepared to work in that area. And then we have a stronger argument in terms of the number of folks here in the Virgin Islands that may have a certification, because this thing about bringing people in from the outside, it only sometimes, majority of the time, it hurts your economy more than help the economy, because a person that is transitioning, only about probably 5% of those will remain in the Virgin Islands for a lifetime. Do you agree on that? Can you hear me, Mr. Purcell?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. But anyway, like I said, we're at the end of the hour, and I just wanted to thank you for taking the time out to come on the program, because I know you're retired, and to take you out of that comfort zone and have you ask you to come and be my special guest on the radio. It was asking for a lot, and I really want to thank you for being a guest, and whatever recommendation. I'll give you a minute to do whatever closing remark, whatever you want to say.
Well, I want to thank the Virgin Islanders for putting up with me for 45 years. I am a full resident of Virgin Island. A lot of people see me sometimes and they ask me if I'm still in the island. Yes, I am. I'm full-time resident. Once in a while, I go to Florida for checkups, etc., like everybody else, but not. I'm full-time residence here. I've enjoyed my years here, and I intend to stay here to the end. Virgin Island has beautiful people, has beautiful beaches, and I hope everybody helps keep it that way. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for having me, Senator.
And thank you, Mr. Purcell, for coming here and connect the dots. And I just wanted to say Merry Christmas to you, Hanukkah, and that you have a joyous, happy New Year. Look forward to a great New Year. And I wanted to say to all the listeners out there and all the people on Facebook land, Merry Christmas to you. I post all the time on Facebook, but I'm here only Mondays from 10 to 11 a.m. here on Connect the Dots. So I wanted to thank all the callers who called in, because you are in fact contributing by lending or providing your voice and your perspective, your opinions, and it's always welcome here. So until next Monday, you guys have a blessed Monday morning and have a productive week. God bless each and every one of you, and look forward to seeing you next Monday here on Connect the Dots, both on the air and via social media. Thank you for being with us.